Hi YouTube, welcome to today's video where I'm going to help your game from looking and running like this to doubling your FPS and it looking like this. I'm going to run through the settings I've found to extract the most FPS without doing any harm to the game's overall look. If you enjoy this type of content and find this useful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more Marauders content. Step 1. Set the resolution of your monitor's native resolution. If you're having issues with low FPS at the end of this guide and are running on a 4K or 1440p monitor, it may be worth you dropping your resolution down to 1080 in Windows settings and then setting to 1080 in the game. Step 2. Windowed mode. I have my game set at borderless because I stream and record content and I need to be able to alt-tab quite often. I have tested other modes and it did gain a 3 to 6 FPS boost using a full screen. Don't even think about windowed as it's not a mode you will enjoy a gameplay experience in. Step 3. UI scale. This is personal preference. I like the sweet spot of 100, but depending on your eyesight and how far away from your monitor you sit, you may want to just set this to however you like it and for your play. This has zero effect on FPS. Resolution scale. As far as I can tell, this has no effects on FPS whatsoever, nor does it have any graphical or gameplay effects from what I can see. I leave this at the highest setting of normal just in case there are any hidden effects I'm unaware of. Frame rate limitation. Set this at your highest frame rate for your monitor. If your frames are jumping all over the place from say 71 seconds to 60, then back up to 100, then down to 70, I'd recommend setting this to 60 for a smoother gameplay experience. Obviously, the higher the frame rate you can get, the better, but I'd choose smoother FPS over inconsistent frames. Virtual synchronization. VSync. This should be off unless you are getting screen tearing. If you have a FreeSync or G-Sync monitor, make sure you have this activated in the NVIDIA or AMD control panel, as it will help with any screen tearing and smoothing out FPS. Step 7. Motion blur. Get this off in any game you play. This feature just shouldn't be in any game, especially a competitive shooter. It will give you an FPS increase of 1 to 2 FPS, but it's better than having a cinematic effect as you turn your player. Step 8. FOV. This is again another personal preference setting and has no effect on FPS. The sweet spot for me is around 90. I find anything higher my aim is off, and anything lower I'm losing too much of the view. You want to play around with this setting and figure out which setting is best for yourselves. Moving on to graphics settings. This is where we can gain the extra FPS while being able to see better in dark areas. Starting on texture quality, there is very minimal difference between low, medium and high. There is though an FPS advantage to be gained. On high, I can lose up to 10 FPS while in game. On medium though, I can extract that extra 10 FPS. The difference between low and medium is very minimal, so medium here is the sweet spot. Moving on to shadow quality, this setting will not only gain you a fair bit of FPS, but will also make it easier to see in those dark areas and see if there's anybody lurking in those shadows. If I drop down to medium, I can gain an instant 10 to 15 FPS boost while it sharpens up edges and brightens dark areas slightly. Low isn't really an option. As you can see in the background, it completely darkens up the entire scene. Moving on to visual effects. This works similar to shadow quality and smooths textures. On high, it will smooth edges more, and low will sharpen them. I like to go with medium here because it's a nice sweet spot and it gives a nicer overall look to the game while giving you that tiny little extra FPS boost that you'll need. Moving on to anti-aliasing quality. This smooths any jagged edges and on my system doesn't reduce the FPS at all. But if you have a lower end system, reducing this to medium will help. I wouldn't recommend going to low as you will start to see artifacting and in a fast paced gunfight at distance you'll need those slightly sharper edges. Foliage quality. FPS wise, there isn't much of a change in the settings. However, I have noticed dropping this to medium has gained me a slight advantage when it comes to single loot standing out in dimly lit areas. So when you've got like single bottles on tables, or you've got that little item that you desperately need in for a quest, they'll stand out ever so slightly. Finally, we've got post-processing quality. This does have a high impact on FPS, so dropping to medium will gain you some valuable FPS. Just as with shadow quality, dropping to low will have a gameplay disadvantage as it darkens up the scene again. I hope this guide does help, and if you're having any issues still, please leave a comment and I will help you as much as I can. If this guide helped, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content from Marauders and guides from other games. Thank you for watching. Until next time, peace.